Hey, what's up guys? It's Nick and Gia. We've been traveling as digital nomads through Southeast Asia for the last 3 or 4 months now.
And we have finalized our thoughts about Bangkok. It was our first stop on our Southeast Asia tour, besides Tokyo, but...
That was just a layover, so we don't count that.
We don't count that.
And it was a terrible layover.
It was a bad layover.
So in this video, we're going to be breaking down Bangkok into 3 categories. We're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the logistics if you want to make the trip yourself.
Starting off with the good, we loved the people of Thailand. Everyone was so nice and so welcoming. Everyone from where we were staying and to the people on the street and everyone in between.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a major pro of Thailand. I think pretty much anywhere you go, people are going to be generally friendly to you as a tourist. But in Thailand, you can really notice that they go out of their way to go that extra mile. They want to talk to you. They want to be super friendly. That was a big difference that we noticed with Vietnam, right? The people here are super nice, but it's a little more of a reserved culture than Thailand, we noticed. And so there in Thailand, everybody is just wanting to initiate conversations with you, and little things like going to your neighborhood coffee stand turn into like a really fun and engaging social interaction, which is really nice if you don't really know anybody in the area except for whoever you're traveling with.
We ended up going to the same coffee stand at the end of our street just because the lady was so nice. Her name was Poonsri, and she has a coffee stand. We will put a picture of her coffee stand here. But she was lovely, she was so nice, and we came there every day, and it was so nice being in another country and feeling like welcomed or like people were interested just as much as we were interested about their culture as well.
Another great thing about Bangkok is the food options.
The mango sticky rice, the mango sticky rice, the mango sticky rice.
Because it's such a big city, you can get really whatever you want. We had amazing Korean fried chicken, we had delicious Indian food.
Pad Krapao.
Pad Krapao, yeah, so you're going to have all the international options that you would have in a major city. But you also have all kinds of local, very affordable Thai options. My personal favorite Thai food that we had was Pad Krapao.
Mango sticky rice, mango sticky rice, mango sticky rice.
Yeah, it was very, very good. And there was tons of cool, trendy cafes that were obviously catering towards digital nomads, as well as a lot of those local spots. And I don't know, I think it's kind of cliche to say, but a lot of those local spots were some of the best food that we had.
Surprisingly, one thing that we would skip is the pad thai. In America, at least, it's one of the biggest dishes that they serve. And here, or I guess there, in Bangkok, it was just average. It was probably at the bottom of our list. So definitely venture out and try something new, try something that you wouldn't get.
And then one more thing about food is don't be too scared about the reputation of everything being super spicy. That is one thing that we found to be wildly exaggerated. Granted, we both do really enjoy spicy foods. That might be some of it. But in general, just when you're ordering, I think you're pretty safe spice-wise. I mean, the only time that we ever had stuff that was super, super spicy was when we asked for extra spice. We went to one of the malls and we got some Pad Krapao that was incredibly spicy, but that was really it. Everything else was very, very manageable.
Yeah, I think it was pretty mild. And especially when we didn't make modifications to the food when we ordered it.
And then speaking of malls, that's going to take us into another one of our major pros of Bangkok, which might sound a little weird to travel halfway across the world and list malls as one of your top 3 things. But Bangkok has some of, if not the nicest malls in the world. They're it's almost like an amusement park. They're so big and interesting, right? There'll be 15 floors, and each floor will have a theme with art installations, every store you can imagine, a themed food court. Remember the Icon Siam, it had a mini night market situation in the basement where everyone had stalls and there was lights, they had a river, there was boats down there. It was absolutely insane.
It gave off Las Vegas vibes for some reason.
But bigger, yeah, a bigger Vegas, how the casino lobbies are.
Yeah, there was in one of the malls in the Icon Siam, because we lived just down the road from it, they have a huge fountain that's the Singapore famous fountain.
The airport fountain.
Yeah. But they have their own version of that, so it's incredible. And then they have restaurants that are situated in the fountain, like you walk on the water on like steps to get to these restaurants. It's incredible.
And they have really every option. So they have food that is catering towards like the backpacking crowd, all the way up to like 5-star omakase dining. So no matter who you are, you'll definitely find something that's delicious and what you're looking for. Another major benefit of the malls in Bangkok is that they give you some much needed relief from the crazy heat and humidity.
That was one of the drawbacks. We didn't really plan it super well. I'm not sure what their other seasons are like, but I know that we came right at the beginning of the wet season. So it was extremely humid. It would rain every other day. And when it wasn't raining, it was suffocating heat. So hot. Luckily, we stayed at an accommodation that had a pool, so we just spent our time at the pool. But
I think that is probably one of the biggest pros of Bangkok is for very little money, you can get a very, very nice luxury experience. And I think if you're going to go to Bangkok, more so than any other city I've ever been to, pay the extra couple $100 and get a pool. I think Bangkok would have been miserable without a pool. Especially as somebody who has grown up in a colder climate, growing up in Chicago, it's very cold and your body is just not at all used to that heat. And so having that pool made it much, much, much more bearable. And I think without that, I would have had at least a terrible experience there. So all in all, I think we paid about $700-ish, $650 or $700 for like a 5-star luxury condo with a pool, with a gym, basketball court, boxing gym, 2 rooftop lounges.
It was amazing. The views from the Sky Lounge that they had in our apartment building, we were so spoiled. Yeah.
And I think it'll be hard to ever compete with that apartment again. All right, so now that we've talked about the pros of Bangkok, now we're going to talk about some of the cons and the drawbacks and why we maybe aren't itching to go back right away.
I think one of the biggest things is that the city itself, while it is a huge city, it's very spread out. So if you don't have a car or a motorbike, it can be a little bit difficult getting around.
Yeah, it's pretty weird because it's as dense as like Chicago or New York City, right? Like it's skyscrapers absolutely everywhere. But like the main points of attraction are so far apart that it's almost like Houston in that way. Where yes, there's all these crazy skyscrapers and stuff, but like if you have a list of 5 things, each of those things might take 30 minutes to an hour to get to. And so you're going to spend a lot of time on the metro or doing Grabs. And if you're a solo traveler, no big deal. The Grab taxis, the Grab motorbike taxis are super cheap and they can just weave in and out of the cars. That's no problem. But if you're in a group that wants to travel together, taxis are going to be about 5 times the price of a Grab motorbike. They're going to take about 10 times as long, which makes, if you're with more than one person, just take the metro.
And the problem with the metro as well is the fact that, one, it's expensive, and then it also takes a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty slow, I would say. It's very, very clean, and it's air conditioned, and so it functions really well. But it's oddly expensive. Even as a Westerner, like it's significantly more expensive than even the Chicago metro, more than Tokyo, more than Mexico City. And it was interesting because we were spending an absurd amount of money just kind of traveling on the SkyTrain, which was surprising. I even remember Googling, like, why is the metro in Bangkok so expensive? Because the cost seems like it'd be very prohibitive to locals. So, like, if you're making an American or a Western salary, you can obviously afford the metro, but you do think about it when it's like over $1 each way. All right, and then before we wrap up this video, we're just going to quickly talk about some logistics that you might want to consider if you're a digital nomad living in Bangkok.
If you're working and you're trying to be productive, we highly recommend not living on or anywhere near Khao San Road. Mm-hmm. It is party central every single day. Yes. We stayed pretty far from it. Matter of fact, we stayed too far away from everything, actually. That was one of our big problems. But we like to go out and things like that, but Khao San Road is on another level of like crazy nightlife. Like you'll walk through the middle of the road, and on each side there will be nightclub, and they're each both blaring music. Like different music is coming in this year, different music is in this year, and you can't even hear yourself think.
And then there's guys that are just going all in between the crowds, selling you things constantly. Like you'll walk down the road. It's a cool experience. So if you're in Bangkok, I would say go for sure. But you're gonna have like people will be grabbing you, trying to get you to go to shows. There'll be like guys selling vapes, guys selling everything basically, and they'll physically grab you. So be ready for that. Nothing was really ever like intimidating or even scary there. I would say like the biggest thing I'd be wary of is drunk Westerners, honestly. But yeah, I think definitely stay far away from Khao San Road. And you're not missing much by not living there because it's not downtown. I kind of thought Khao San Road was like a cool party street downtown, but it's really not. It's pretty far away from a lot of like the cool cafes and a lot of the daytime stuff that you're gonna want to do. There is some temples and stuff, but just go out there for like a day trip or I guess a night trip. And then another huge logistical thing is I touched on this earlier, but you want to make sure that you have a really nice apartment because you're going to be spending a lot of time in there to get away from the heat. And if you are working remotely, at least as an American, you're going to be up all night. And so you want to be somewhere comfortable. And in Bangkok, you're going to be able to get those really great big city amenities for a fraction of the cost. So definitely take advantage of that.
Definitely do your research and figure out which neighborhood suits you. We found out the hard way, and we found out that we lived a little bit too far from anything at all. We lived kind of on the opposite side of the river. Where it was quieter, and at first we were like, okay, this is gonna be great, like we can easily just cross the river to get to all the cool stuff if we want it.
Crossing the river is harder than you would think.
A lot harder, and then the metro was very hard to get to. So we were kind of, sometimes it felt like we were kind of stranded on our side of the river. Yeah,
and we talked about this a little bit earlier as well, but just to really reiterate the point, a half-mile walk in Bangkok in the rainy season is miserable. Like, we're used to big cities that have more temperate climates. Like, I lived in Toronto, Chicago, Houston. These places, half mile, that's whatever. It's a 20-minute walk. Nobody cares. But in Bangkok, you want to be, like, on top of that metro station, honestly. Like, you want to be as close as humanly possible, or you want to be in the neighborhood where you want to hang out. And so a couple of cool neighborhoods that we could recommend would be definitely Ari. I think that's where I would go if I was going to go back to Thailand. What about you?
I would personally recommend Ekamai. In my opinion, it is like a little artsy kind of quiet area with cafes, like some thrift stores. It was cute. And then also Tachuka rooftop bar, I think is in
like the outskirts. It's in between Ekamai and Bangalore, I believe. But yeah, definitely go. I would recommend Tachuka, but definitely go to a rooftop bar while you're there. I think that's one of it's top 3 experiences we've had so far while digital nomading. And that was awesome. We loved every second of that. Some of the most beautiful views I've ever had.
Yeah.
And then one more quick suggestion for Thailand before we head out is if you're going to Bangkok, consider extending your trip a little bit and going someplace else in Thailand. We did not do that, and that's the biggest regret that we have of that trip. We didn't go to Chiang Mai. We didn't go to any islands. We just did 3 weeks in Bangkok. We were like, oh, we're city people. We're going to love it. And while we really liked it, I'm pretty sad that we didn't get to go see those islands. I think we'll have to make another trip out there just to check out the islands in Chiang Mai.
I think we really missed out on like seeing the natural beauty of Thailand.
Yeah, 100%. So I think if you're going out there, definitely add another week or 2, or do maybe 2 weeks, or preferably like 1 month. All right, if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one shortly.